Welcome to the Housing Policy and Finance Committee for March 29th of 2022. It's about 1:12. Thank you everyone for joining us online and in person. We do have a quorum for the record. Members, today we're gonna, I guess, work on our policy bill for the year, our mini bus bill, I'll call it. Senate File 3994. It's our comprehensive housing bill. We'll take up the bill today, do the DE, take testimony, and then come back on Thursday with amendments and have more discussion internally on that bill. You know, putting this bill together was not easy. We heard a lot of great solutions out there from various groups. And, you know, I did visit a little bit with Senator Dietzick on a couple items on this bill and took some advice from her, and I appreciate that and her time. This is what I think the state needs right now in this point in time. It is not to say that there aren't some other programs that I thought were really good. But right now, I feel the unit shortage needs to be addressed. I feel our bill does that in a well-balanced way. So that's my 2 cents on that. So I guess I would like to move Senate File 3994 to the table, I guess, and offer the DE, which is the A4 amendment. So all in favor of the A4, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you, members. With that, we'll have council go through the DE. Are we doing the fiscal part? Okay. Mr. Mueller, when you're ready, please begin.
Mr. Chairman and members, I'll first work off the one-page spreadsheet that should be part of your packets. The spreadsheet just shows what's in the DE amendment. The general fund target that is part of this bill is 50 million one-time of additional spending for the Housing Finance Agency. The spreadsheet doesn't show the governor's proposal, but just for comparison, the governor had $225.7 million of additional spending for fiscal year 23 and about 150 million a year ongoing into the tails. And again, the target for this bill right now is 50 million general fund one time of additional spending. The 3 new general fund items that the 50 million target is being split to is $10 million for the workforce home ownership program. This is in addition to the base amount, which is $250,000 that's currently in the base. So this would just go on top of that. One new item is $35 million for the home ownership investment grants. This was in Senate File 3677, Senator Draheim's bill. The other next item is a targeted loan pool. This was in Senate File 3427, Senator Champion. That bill originally had a $10 million request for the 9,000 equities fund through Build Wealth, and this is funding half of that at $5 million. The last 2 items are allocating some housing affordability fund, or Pool 3. There'd be $10 million for a manufactured home park revolving loan fund. Again, this was in Senate File 3677. And then offshoot of Senator Dietzick's Senate File 4170, the high-rise sprinkler grants. This would use some of the Pool 3, $5 million of the Pool 3 resources for those grants. So that's it for the spreadsheet, and I'll quickly go through Article 1, which pretty much mirrors the spreadsheet, and just point out any other changes there. Article 1 of the bill, again, appropriates $50 million. This is the way the appropriation article works. It's in addition to whatever was appropriated in last year's budget bill, and that's mentioned up in the header up there. Again, $10 million is for the workforce home ownership program. This is in addition to the $250,000 that's in the base. The home ownership investment grants, $35 million. The grant language is in section 4 of this article for that. Next, we have the targeted loan pool. This is the $5 million to build wealth to establish the 9,000 equities fund. And a little bit of new language in here to account for the smaller, or the half the appropriation that was in the original bill. The original bill was calling for 9,000 new homeownership opportunities. And you'll see on line 2.10, we've changed that to 4,500 new homes. And we also allowing up to 10% of the appropriation to be used by Build Wealth to administer the targeted loan program. Section 3 of the bill, again, is the $10 million for the, out of Pool 3 for the revolving loans for manufactured home parks. That was in Senate File 3677. Paragraph B on top of page 3 is the $5 million for sprinkler grants. This is from Senator Dietzich, Senate File 4170. New portion that was added to this proposal is saying that that a in-kind contribution may be used to meet all or a portion of the match requirement, that there's a 25% match requirement within the language, and that it can be in-kind or cash or a combination of the two. Section 4 is the homeownership investment grants. This is funded by a $35 million one-time appropriation. This again was in Senate File 3677. In that bill, this was funded out of the federal relief fund program or funds. So all references to the federal funds have been taken out of here since we're using general fund now. And also the new thing is on lines 4.8 and 4.12 is to include revolving loans can be used as part of the financing programs. The way this grant program will work is these grants will be, the money will be doled out through the community development financial institutions, and they would sort of run the grant programs on this. And that is it for Article 1.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, members, I'll go through Article 2, the policy article. It starts on page 5 of the A4. Section 1, it was in last year's Omnibus bill, prohibits an executive order that delays eviction proceedings for more than 30 days. After that, any extension would have to be approved by the legislature. That was in our eviction moratorium language last year, didn't survive in conference, and it's back as Section 1. Section 2 is the planned unit development language. We've spent a fair amount of time in the committee this year on. Very similar to what already left the committee in Senate File 3259. One thing we did add was the prohibition on aesthetic mandates. That prohibition would not apply in a historic district under state law. Moving down, sections 3 to 4, and then also 16 to 20 come from the agency's policy bill, SF 3575, and that authorizes the issuance of bonds for refunding previously issued nonprofit housing bonds and housing infrastructure bonds. So that was an agency request. Section 5 is a new reporting obligation on the agency with respect to rehabilitation loan programs. Section 6 also comes from the agency bill. It allows the agency to make any federally recognized Indian tribe eligible for funding under agency programs. Section 7 comes from the agency bill. Although I believe we modified that a bit, it requires the agency to prioritize funding for home ownership programs to narrow the racial disparity gap. Sections 8 to 10 and Section 13, that was a grammatical fix to, I believe, change the term insure to ensure, so we've got that in here. Section 11 is a reporting obligation for the agency with respect to manufactured home park infrastructure grants. Section 12 comes from the agency bill, eliminates the need for a sponsoring resolution for certain family homeless prevention program grants awarded outside the metro area. Section 14 comes from last year's budget bill. Again, that requires the agency to award points in their decision-making criteria for all programs based on how quickly a project can be constructed. That was in last year's budget bill. Section 15, another reporting requirement, this time with respect to the challenge program. Section 21, also from the agency policy bill, adds counties to the list of entities that may receive grants under the Workforce and Affordable Home Ownership Development Program. Sections 22 to 25 is sort of a combination of something we had in the budget bill last year and a provision in the agency bill this year. It expands the scope of the Workforce Housing Development Program to include owner-occupied housing, and also adds tribal reservations to the list of eligible project areas for purposes of the program. Section 26, I believe, was a Dames amendment from last spring in the Omnibus bill that deals with a contingency under a workforce housing program when a contingency is included in a grant award. Changes the developer makes to the project in response to that shall not be considered a change in project scope, and the grant has to be funded under specified conditions. Section 27 is a reporting requirement for the agency under the Workforce Development Program. That was, yes. Section 28 was from the budget bill last year. It requires the agency to develop and implement a program that offers mortgage financing and down payment assistance for purchasers of manufactured homes. Sections 29 and 35 is essentially Senate File 3414 that we passed out of this committee, and I believe is now in general orders related to rent control, which repeals retroactively the ability of a city to enact a rent control ordinance if authorized by the voters in an election. Sections 30 and 31 are from last year's budget bill. Again, those sections require that if there are two or more applications for residential rental projects at the same priority level, and there is insufficient bonding authority to do them all, that the award be made by giving preference to projects with a lower cost per unit instead of on a random basis. Section 32 is Senator Port's Senate File 3937, which extends the due date on for the final report for the task force on shelter. Section 33 comes from last year's budget bill and prohibits grant funds awarded by the agency to be used to hire a lobbyist. Section 34 requires the agency to complete a pretty comprehensive report regarding the impact of rent control by August 1st of next year, and also prohibits the agency from funding multifamily projects in cities that have adopted rent control until the report is delivered. And I already addressed Section 35, so that's the policy article, Article 2, Mr. Chairman and members.
Thank you, Mr. Stang and Mr. Mueller, for the walkthrough on on our bill. Members, once again, I just want to thank everyone for being here and having your input. I think we'll jump right into the testifiers. First up, we have Commissioner Ho. Thank you, Commissioner, for all your time this year and the great discussion we've had around different policy ideas.
Is this chair better? Does it matter?
Your choice.
Right. Chairman Draheim, members of the committee, pleased to be here with Dan Kitzburger today. Dan and I haven't seen much of each other three-dimensionally, so it's nice to have an excuse to be here with him. And congratulations on putting together your bill. I am going to keep my comments limited today. I know you have lots of testifiers, and we'll have lots of opportunities between now and the end of May to talk about a lot of these details. First of all, I think there are a lot of areas of alignment on priorities and room for some early agreements. The governor's recommendations included significant investments in homeownership-related programs, so I'm hopeful that that's an area that we'll be able to reach some agreement on. Also, gratitude for many of the agency's policy provisions that you have included in your bill. I know that they can seem like small changes when taken on their own, but it helps the agency and our community partners do our work better, so thank you for that. We are glad to see at least some one-time general fund investments being proposed and recognition that additional investments are needed. I understand that it has taken years to get to this kind of moment in where we are with our housing challenges across the state, and it's going to take years of sustained investment from both the public and the private sectors in order to get the housing market to function well again. You know that I believe that with this historic surplus, we have a generational opportunity to make significant investments and set a meaningful progress on everything from homelessness to affordable home ownership and everything in between. And I hope we can continue working together in the coming weeks to grow the resources that will be available to us. We're still working with my agency staff to fully understand the impacts and consequences of many of the bill's provisions, but I'd like to highlight just a few items that we're thinking about. So if you go down to Section 3 and making designations out of Pool 3 resources, I would remind the committee that we have been in both a compressed interest rate environment and in an inflationary environment. And so if you were to designate specific new activities that we must do out of Pool 3, it would stop us from doing some activities that we currently do under Pool 3, and notably down payment assistance and homeownership capacity are two important things that are funded out of there. So I just want to make that point clearly, and we are in now for the first time in a long while an environment where interest rates are going up, and that will have an effect on both multifamily and single-family housing. But we also know that according to the Federal Reserve Bank, that is going to be done very incrementally. On the Section 4 Homeownership Investment Grants Program, I would just like to be in conversation to get a better understanding of why the specificity around CDFIs when there are other entities that also could do this as well. So I'm just curious about the thinking there. We can talk about that at some point in time. Article 2 on housing policy. Let's just say I look forward to a robust discussion around evictions policy as we move through the end of session. Section 7, I just have my legal team taking a look at the language there just to make sure that the way that you've proposed it works for us. I'm sure we can work something out there. I'll skip down to sections 22 through 27, the changes to the Greater Minnesota Workforce Housing Development Program. I think we would just need to understand with staff and community partners in Greater Minnesota what the implications of adding the owner-occupied market rate housing to what is already an oversubscribed program, what its impact would have there. Section 28, manufactured housing lending and the down payment assistance program. So while we think that we could undertake this and have attempted a USDA rural development pilot in the past, there are a number of marketplace factors that are beyond Minnesota Housing's and Fannie Mae's control. So there is actually a real risk that we would be setting up a program, but to have lenders or other housing industry professionals decide not to participate. So we just need to be able to think that through. And then on the rent control report, the scope of this report would be a significant undertaking at a time where we are needing to do a lot and faster throughout the state. And so I think my main concern is, given the scope and the deadline of this, that it is going to potentially mean other things that the agency should be doing that we wouldn't be able to do. Those are really the key pieces that I wanted to highlight today. Again, I know you have many other people that are here to comment, and we'll have opportunities for lots of robust, hopefully during the day, conversations about many of these issues, and but happy to take any questions if you have them.
Thank you, Commissioner. Members, do you have any questions for the Commissioner? I appreciate your comments, and I look forward to working with you through the process. So,
You too, sir. Thank you.
yep, thank you both. Next up, we have Mr. Bruner up from Manufactured Modular Home Association. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm Mark Bruner, President of the Manufactured Modular Home Association of Minnesota, and would like to thank Chair Draheim for bringing the bill and including manufactured housing as a key component, as one of the solutions to Minnesota's shortage of workforce housing. We appreciate the work of the committee and look forward to working with you, Mr. Chairman, on perhaps some modifications to the bill to be a little more specific towards manufactured housing. Minnesota has 14 plants currently building manufactured and modular homes in the state. We employ about 1,000 workers at the plants. We're the largest source of non-subsidized workforce housing in the state of Minnesota, and about 90% of the new homes that we construct actually end up on private property, mostly financed with traditional type mortgages. The balance of the homes that we build go into manufactured home communities on leased land. One of the things that we wanted to address in the bill in Article 1 under the home ownership grant program, we think that it would be helpful if it specifically included manufactured homes located on private property, in privately owned manufactured home communities, as well as the cooperatively owned and those owned by municipalities, in terms of better defining how that would be applied. It does include manufactured housing, but it's just not specific to those different categories that we seem now to be working with within the bill. One other suggestion under Article 2 for the addressing limitation of powers for eviction proceedings. We appreciate the bill including that topic, having gone through the past 2 years and many of our members having to address issues with non-payment of rent under the eviction moratorium. While 504B, which is specifically cited for evictions, does apply to some extent to manufactured home communities. Section 327C is actually the specific section of statute that deals with manufactured home community eviction. So it might be helpful to also reference that in that section. Under Article 2, the rehabilitation loans for existing owner-occupied residential housing program. We appreciate increasing that maximum to $40,000, particularly the past 2 years, and what we've seen in terms of increases in costs of lumber and other components. In the same article, we would have a suggestion relative to the new program for Minnesota Housing to look at the manufactured home mortgage finance and down payment assistance with a focus on the on Fannie Mae's Home Ready program to more broadly address manufactured home financing in manufactured home communities related to personal property, while the Home Ready does focus on homes in cooperatively owned communities. Most recently, the Biden administration, particularly HUD Secretary Fudge, has made a priority of advancing what's called duty to serve, which was passed by the Congress probably 10 years ago, mandating Fannie and Freddie to create a secondary market for manufactured home loans that are applicable to those financed in communities. And considering that this is now a priority of the administration, it would be helpful when Minnesota Housing looks at this topic, if they too would include that within the scope of what they're addressing, so we don't miss something if in fact Fannie and Freddie were to launch a program about the same time they would the Home Ready program. But that really concludes my testimony, Mr. Chairman. We look forward to working with you and the committee as the bill advances. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have the Minnesota Realtors, followed by Metro Cities.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, my name is Paulegger. I'm Senior Vice President of Governmental Affairs for the Minnesota Realtors. Thank you for the opportunity to testify today on the Chair's DE amendment to Senate File 3994. Overall, we appreciate the focus on home ownership in the DE amendment, which is a passion that our members share. I'd just like to highlight a few items in the amendment and one item that's actually not in the bill. Mr. Chairman, Article 2, Section 2 addresses some of the regulatory barriers that this committee has spent a lot of time on over the past couple of years that can interfere with the private market's ability to meet the demand for more housing generally and more housing that more housing that's broadly affordable to more Minnesotans specifically. Sections 29 and 35 also address the rent control issue, which we testified in support of when Senator Draheim's bill was before this committee and the local government committee, and that's Senate File 3414. And finally, Mr. Chair, although the first generation home buyers down payment assistance fund, which was Senate File 3897, is not in this bill, we certainly appreciated the discussion that we had before the committee a couple of weeks ago. The support for that bill from stakeholders from all across the housing spectrum and businesses and business trade associations has grown throughout the session, and we look forward to working with the legislature, hopefully to find an opportunity to get that pilot program started this session, if possible. So, Mr. Chair, thanks for your work on this bill, and look forward to working with the committee throughout the remainder of session. Thank you.
Thank you. So up next is Metro Cities, followed by the League of Minnesota Cities. Yeah.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Charlie Vanderreide for Metro Cities, which represents the collective interests of cities across the 7-county metropolitan region at the legislature, executive branch, and the Metropolitan Council. Thanks for the opportunity to comment on the omnibus bill today. The state-local partnership has been key to funding housing-related needs across the metro. And the bill's $50 million general fund target continues that partnership. And we thank the chair for including those state resources in the housing conversations this session. Metro City's policies have long supported targeted efforts to close the home ownership disparity gap in Minnesota. And the funds in this bill will help more potential homeowners fund their home and set them up to build wealth through home ownership. While Metro City supports the funding in the bill, we oppose several provisions. The rent control preemption and repealer take away the ability of a city to choose a policy that works for their community. Additionally, it would have the effect of nullifying the November 21 elections in 2 cities, as well as future funding. Metro Cities supports maintaining local decision-making authorities. Finally, Mr. Chair, Metro Cities is concerned with the language in the bill that would prioritize a lower cost per unit and the speed at which a housing development would be completed. As this committee has heard, there are many factors that determine how a project comes together. Financing from multiple funding sources must be secured, and that takes time. Metro Cities is concerned that a housing development that is important to a city and meets local housing needs would lose out on critical state funds due to this language. Additionally, many cities are looking to creatively reuse existing buildings. Reuse and redevelopment efficiently reuse existing infrastructure and existing resources to fill a housing need and build more homes. This revitalization serves many purposes, including adding to the local tax base, providing jobs, building more homes, and creatively spurring renewal in existing neighborhoods. The speed scoring criteria and the cost per square foot criteria could preclude those needed and creative projects from receiving necessary state funds. We urge the committee to respond to local needs and considerations and not enact additional hurdles to moving development forward. Thanks for your consideration, and Metro Cities looks forward to working with you and the committee as you wind down the session. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. In the interest of time, we decided to divide and conquer on this one. Daniel Lightfoot, Intergovernmental Relations with the League of Minnesota Cities. The League represents the collective interests of 837 member cities across the state of Minnesota. We appreciate the committee's work this session to address housing needs in cities across the housing spectrum. The League of Minnesota Cities supports the strengthening of the state-local partnership when it comes to addressing locally identified housing needs that vary greatly from community to community. And there are several provisions in the bill that do just that. We know that state resources are necessary to assist with bending the cost curve to provide more affordable housing, and the $50 million in general fund spending outlined in this bill is a great start. We are very supportive of the inclusion of $35 million for home ownership investment grants in Article 1, Section 4, and the League's policies support additional state resources that bolster efforts at the local level to provide more affordable home ownership opportunities and reduce the racial gap in home ownership rates. We also appreciate the authorization of $10 million for the Housing Affordability Fund and $5 million for fire suppression system installation in multifamily high-rise properties. However, we are concerned that this funding is being diverted away from Minnesota Housing's Pool 3 fund, which currently funds home buyer down payment assistance programs, flexible financing for capital costs, and home ownership training for households of color, as well as efforts to reduce reduce the home ownership disparity. We encourage the use of resources for these efforts that do not come at the expense of other important efforts related to home ownership, preservation, and reducing disparities. In addition, I would like to echo the Commissioner's comments on the workforce development program. We do support the expansion of that program, but given that it is so oversubscribed, any expansion of that program to also allow for single-family projects to be eligible for that program should come with some additional resources to be able to right-size that expansion of the program. The League and other city associations continue to have serious concerns with language in Article 2, Section 2 that preempts longstanding city zoning authority when it comes to residential development. We've had a number of conversations with Senator Draheim and other members of the committee on these matters, and we appreciate the opportunity to continue to work on this language. No matter the reason, such as energy efficiency, prohibiting cities from conditioning any approvals on material, design, or other conditions if not currently required in the state building code is extremely problematic. While the subdivision title is limitation on aesthetic mandates, the state building code, by making the state building code the floor and the ceiling for materials, design, or other aesthetic conditions could implicate both traditional and emerging performance standards. Aesthetics relate to things, to how things look, but material and design requirements in residential development are also deployed for performance or functional reasons that are quite apart from purely aesthetics. Lastly, we have had over 100 cities across the state adopt resolutions that support the strengthening of the state-local partnership through policy and resources that advance solutions to support needs across the full housing spectrum. Those resolutions also strongly oppose the restrictions of local decision-making authority related to housing, including the preemption language in Article 2. Thank you, Mr. Chair and members, and the League looks forward to working with you all as this bill progresses through the process.
Thank you both for your testimony. Up next, we have the National Fire Sprinkler Association, followed by Minnesota Pipe Trades Association. Are those online? Nope. Okay. Thank you, guys. Please state your name and begin your testimony.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Tom Brace. I'm the Minnesota coordinator for the National Fire Sprinkler Association and an unabashed advocate of fire sprinklers. I'd like to recognize, Chairman, your role in having this bill, this insert, if you will, regarding fire sprinklers. Just a quick reminder that we're talking about high-rise retrofit of nonprofit high-rise buildings. And just to be very specific, that is an occupied floor of 75 feet or more in terms of access. And there's three groups that we're concerned with. One, the people that live there, many times with mobility problems, age, health, and so forth. We're concerned about the people that work in that environment. And let us not forget the fire service who has to fight, the men and women of the fire service who has to fight a fire in those structures. And clearly you got some sense of that with the tragedy of Cedar Riverside. I would be very remiss if I didn't make a public thank you to Senator Dietzick. It's been a pleasure to work with someone who is a dedicated professional and cares about the detail. And I think this document that you have in front of me, and I'm just addressing the $5 million portion, is a wonderful start. Now, will it pay for every project? No, it's not going to, but it's set up, and I think this is the wisdom of it. It's set up with a $250,000 match. That may, in fact, make the project doable for people that might tip that high-rise ownership that is considering it to allow them to undertake this project. So $5 million, a $250,000 match, and we believe it's a forward and progressive step. And thank you again, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Senator Dietzick.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, good afternoon. My name is David Ibarra. I'm president of the Minnesota Pipe Trades Association, an umbrella organization representing 11 affiliated unions and more than 9,000 craft professionals working in the plumbing, pipe fitting, and fire protection industries. I want to thank you, Mr. Chairman, for including generous funding for a grant program to install fire sprinklers in the high-rise buildings owned by nonprofit organizations. As you may recall, I testified recently on the underlying bill, Senate File 4170, so I won't repeat my testimony other than to again thank you, Mr. Chair. Also want to thank Senators Dietzick and Rosen for their tremendous work on this very important initiative. That's my testimony. I want to thank you for allowing me to provide it today.
Thank you both. And thank you, Senator Dietzick, for bringing this bill forward. Or this portion, I guess. Up next, we have Housing Justice Center. And then I believe we're going online after that. Sarah Hayes will be the first one online. I'm sorry, Sarah Harris.
Thank you, Chair Draheim. My name is Shana Temenis. I am an Equal Justice Works Fellow and an attorney at the Housing Justice Center. The Housing Justice Center is a nonprofit public interest advocacy and legal organization whose primary mission is to preserve and protect affordable housing statewide. I'm testifying in opposition of the limitation of power and eviction proceeding portion of Senate File 3994. Over the past 2 years, I've had the opportunity to work with individuals and families seeking emergency rental assistance who are behind on rent and are worried about eviction. The limitation of power in the eviction proceeding portions of the bill strictly limits the governor's ability to balance needs of Minnesota families and Minnesota businesses during a public health crisis to merely 30 days. While I would say the eviction moratorium lasted longer than I expected and many expected, I can tell you that it prevented mass displacement and the public health crisis. I could tell hundreds of stories of Minnesotans who were behind on rent, maybe $500, maybe $5,000, and how the time that they were able to stay in their homes safely housed prevented them from being displaced and prevented them from spreading COVID-19 in their community. I could also point to the growing research that suggests in the first 6 months of the eviction moratorium that compared to our neighbor of Wisconsin, we had 20,000 less cases of COVID-19 and prevented over 300 deaths. But one thing that I wanted to talk to you specifically is about a Minnesotan that I worked in Anoka. This person, she was the first time she had ever applied for an emergency rental assistance program. She called me saying, I'm going to be evicted. I've never been behind on rent. I've never applied for an emergency rental assistance program or a government program at all. And I said, oh, it's okay. Let's go through the process. We worked with her and her landlord and got her funding to get behind on rent. During this time, she was making partial rental payments. During this time, she was looking for more work when her hours had been cut. And because of this, she was able to stay safely housed. And why I bring up her story, even though it's one of the thousands of people I've worked with, is because last week I got a call from her and she said, Shana, I got a new job. My new job over the last 6 months, not only have I been able to stay in my home and make rent every month, I have savings. And because of that, I've been able to open a food truck, which fulfills my goal of being a first business owner in my family. And for those reasons, and stories like this Minnesotan, I urge you not to adopt the limitation of power section of the Senate file. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for your testimony. And members, the whole intent of that section isn't to limit an eviction for just 30 days. It's just to include us in the discussion on how to do an eviction moratorium if we have to do that again. So that section was intended to be drafted where the governor would have to come to the legislative body, the 201 elected officials, and we would have to craft a solution with the governor's office, was the intent, just an FYI. I think we go to Zoom next. We have Sarah Harris up first, followed by the local 49ers.
Thank you, Senator Draheim and members of the committee for hearing from me today. I wish I could be there with you in person. I'm about to go into a telemed appointment with my 93-year-old father, so I'm trying to split duties here today. I am Sarah Harris. I'm the Executive Vice President of Housing Development at AON, and for context, AON is a not-for-profit owner, developer, and manager of nearly 6,000 affordable housing units in Minnesota. We serve over 16,000 residents, and we have nearly 250 people in our employ. I want to thank you for continuing to focus on one of Minnesota's greatest needs, housing. For each year, our state loses 2 times more naturally occurring affordable housing than that which we are able to build new. And NOAA units cost half as much to acquire and preserve as the cost of building new units. This continued net loss of affordable housing means that more and more of our state's families and workforce are without stable housing. This housing crisis is an economic crisis for our state. Our workforce must be able to find affordable housing in the communities where our jobs are located, or our economy will be constrained. The solution to this growing housing crisis is not singular. Rather, we need to provide as many ways as possible to leverage access to housing. This is our all-hands-on-deck moment. For this reason, I appreciate all of the measures you are taking in this bill. The supports to reduce barriers to entry for home ownership, including low-interest mortgage support for communities of color, low-interest support for purchase of manufactured homes, grant assistance for the sprinkling of buildings that we just heard about. All of these are great. I would hope that you would also consider ways to keep existing housing affordable through NOAA funding, as well as providing more flexibility to allow housing infrastructure bonds to deliver more volume of housing. These solutions, along with those already in the bill, are needed to help us meet the housing and the economic needs of our current and future families and workforce in Minnesota. Thank you all for all that you are doing to make Minnesota the place where we can all live and we can work. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your testimony. Members, up next, we have the local 49ers, Kristen LaForest.
Hey, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, good afternoon. For the record, my name is Christopher D. LaForest. I'm here this afternoon testifying on behalf of the Operating Engineers Local 49 and also the North Central States Regional Council of Carpenters, representing approximately 30,000 construction trade professionals here in Minnesota. Mr. Chairman, I'm testifying today in support of Article 2, Section 29 of your Delete Everything Amendment, which of course is an elimination of the carve-out regarding the general statutory prohibition on rent control ordinances. Mr. Chairman, you will recall that the leadership of both those unions has testified previously in this committee on the underlying Senate file 3414, so I will not presume to repeat the testimony here today, but I did want to emphasize on the record that the leadership of both these unions remains very interested in supporting this provision now in your omnibus bill. It is a high legislative priority because what we have seen in St. Paul and what could potentially happen in Minneapolis, although we appreciate the council's restraint thus far, is impacting our members' ability to do work because it's impacting the ability of our contractors to continue to do work in the city of St. Paul. So in closing, happy to stand for questions, but we look forward to supporting this idea, this provision throughout the process. It's good public policy. Thank you.
Thank you. Up next, we have the Minnesota Multi-Housing Association.
Chair Draheim, members of the committee, my name is Cecil Smith. I'm the president and CEO of the Minnesota Multi-Housing Association. I want to thank you for the delete all amendment today. I just want to walk through a few of the provisions that are of interest and priority for our organization. Article 1, Section 3 sets aside $5 million for sprinkler retrofit in nonprofit organizations. As recently as last year, MHA raised concerns at the legislature about unfunded mandates, which would require sprinkler retrofits in housing. We appreciate the incentive approach found in this proposal and would recommend broadening the use to private entities providing affordable housing. We strongly believe housing should be safe and affordable. Article 2, Section 1 addresses the powers of the governor with regard to extended unilateral eviction moratorium. The housing industry suffered mightily for months, even when restrictions on other businesses were lifted. There needs to be a legislative check on this power. The argument that this was necessary to avoid an eviction wave was never borne out in the data or in reality as the months have passed. But the economic and emotional effects of the eviction moratorium are still felt to this day by some housing providers and the good neighbors who suffered through awful behavior. Article 2, Section 14 provides a valuable addition to the point system for agency decision-making. Minnesota is in a housing crisis, and our ability to quickly bring a project online should be taken into consideration and rewarded. And lastly, Article 2, Section 29 and 35 includes the repealer language that MHA and others have testified on earlier this year regarding rent control. It has a retroactive date, and that's an important component of this legislation. We believe the rent control policies have further exacerbated the housing crisis in Minnesota by reducing new housing development, increasing rents, and overall have negatively impacted our state, with 23% of national investors in a recent poll indicating they would no longer look to invest in Minnesota. Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the committee, and we are available to assist you as you continue the development of the Omnibus bill.
Thank you. Up next, we have Minnesota Home Ownership Center.
Chair Draheim and members of the committee, my name is Julie Googin. I am president of the nonprofit Minnesota Home Ownership Center. Thank you for the opportunity to be in front of you today. The center believes that owning a home is the foundation for personal and community success. For over 25 years, we've worked to educate buyers on the complicated process of owning and sustaining a home, and have implemented numerous programs to ensure equitable access to homeownership. Chair Draheim and committee members, thank you for your leadership on advancing equity through affordable homeownership. I acknowledge the challenging decisions that this committee and you as legislators must make to support Minnesotans, and appreciate your ongoing attention to affordable homeownership. As you've heard from my previous testimony to this committee, the importance of homebuyer education and counseling and meaningful access to down payment assistance are critical components of addressing racial inequity in this state. I appreciate your enthusiasm and constructive discourse on these important issues. The momentum you've created is encouraging. And while Senate File 3897, calling for a first-generation down payment assistance program, is not in this omnibus bill, we remain hopeful for an opportunity to launch this important pilot and welcome additional conversations about it. Likewise, we appreciate your attention to date for Senate File 1928 to support funding for homeownership education, counseling, and training. Thank you again.
Thank you. Up next, we have Habitat for Humanity of Minnesota.
Thank you, Chair Draheim and members of the committee for the opportunity to testify today. Good to see all of you again. For the record, my name is Kristen Inman. I am the CEO of Habitat for Humanity of Minnesota and the co-chair of Homeownership Minnesota, a statewide coalition of affordable homeownership practitioners. We have 16 members in the Home Coalition, and our member services reach every county in the state with their programs and services. Homeownership Minnesota appreciates the specific emphasis on increasing access to affordable ownership in the bill. Thank you for the acknowledgement that our state needs to deepen its investment in affordable ownership production, including alternative ownership models like the Homeownership Investment Grants for Community Development Financial Institutions, and the Investments in Equity 9000 Targeted Mortgage Program. These are great places to invest one-time resources and a step forward. If the state is serious about closing the racial gap in homeownership, increasing production, and solving Greater Minnesota's workforce housing needs, permanent and ongoing funding for the Workforce and Affordable Homeownership Program, manufactured housing programs, and others are critical to creating a reliable source of funds and increasing supply. Nonprofit affordable homeownership developers need a reliable source of resources to support production planning and increases. Ongoing base funding is needed for this type of reliability and production acceleration. Thank you, Chair Draheim and the committee for your leadership on this work. We look forward to working with the committees in the Senate and the House on a final bill that reflects the magnitude of the problem with which we are faced as a state, with ongoing investments in affordable housing and homeownership with those investments. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Housing First.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. My name is Peter Coyle. I'm testifying today on behalf of Housing First Minnesota, which is Minnesota's largest private trade organization dedicated to the production of safe and affordable housing throughout the state, comprised of developers, builders, and allied trade organizations. And we strongly support the bill that's before the committee today for these reasons. As we all know from the multiple testifiers over the course of the last few months, Minnesota is encountering an enormous housing crisis in terms of the supply and the affordability of housing. Not just new housing, but also existing housing. This bill is an important step in trying to address that problem, both by providing needed public resources directly to organizations that build such housing, as well as trying to address private market reforms. And frankly, we need both. Public dollars will not go far enough to address this problem by itself. We need the private sector to engage based on market solutions that are driven through the legislature that will open the door for more housing that's affordable to more people at all levels to be built throughout the state. The modifications to the authority to mandate PUDs on developers and builders is an important step, as is the restriction on the imposition of aesthetic requirements. One of the previous testifiers suggested that these restrictions had much more to do about the quality and durability of the home, and I respectfully beg to differ. Mandating fake chimneys on a home for an architectural appeal at a cost of several $1,000s doesn't enhance the quality of the home. Mandating the use of brick versus other siding options does not automatically enhance the durability or integrity of the home, though it does raise the home price by multiple thousands of dollars. I could go on, but I won't. Suffice to say, Mr. Chairman and committee members, there aren't enough public dollars to solve the problem. We need the private sector to weigh in to be able to provide the thousands of homes that are needed to support the growing population and demand for new housing in Minnesota. And while this bill doesn't solve all of those problems, it's an important step, and we strongly support it and encourage the committee to adopt it today or at its next meeting. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. Happy to respond to questions if there are any for me.
Thank you. Thank you for your testimony, and thank you to everybody that has testified. Is there anybody we missed? Anybody here or online that would like to testify on the bill? Perfect. Members, any questions or comments? Senator Rest.
Mr. Chairman, could you just go over the schedule again?
Sure. Yep. Senator Rest asked about the schedule, and what our plan is to lay this on over and then bring it up on Thursday and do any amendments to the bill, and then hopefully pass it on to the floor. Finance, excuse me.
Yeah, so we're going to finance.
Yes, Senator Rosen's committee. Yep.
And then be acted on there before, obviously before the announcement.
Correct. Yep.
And that would be, we're assuming, like in the next week or so. Unreasonable.
Yeah, that, Senator Rest, that is, I was asked by leadership to get the bills moving. So we have plenty of time to work through the process. Which I think is important. So I appreciate the questions. Anybody else have any questions? Perfect. So I know we heard a lot of testimony, some good and some bad on the bill, which is to be expected. I just want to remind members that there are a lot of aspects to housing, and not all of them fall into this committee. You know, I know I am really concerned about one aspect of housing, which is the long-term care and the worker shortage there. And I know we need to invest in that. I think, and I'd like to thank the staff that put this bill together, using the constraints that we were given by leadership. And I think they did a great job, and I just wanted to say thank you. And with that, members, we're going to lay this on the table, or lay this over. Senate File 3994 will be laid over till Thursday. Thank you, guys. We are adjourned.